You'd think she started the fire herself. My dear sisters, I want to confess something to you. I want to bare my soul. I want to confess something to you, and then I never want to say another word about it again. It's my secret, but you should know it anyway. I'm in love. I'm in love. I'm in love. I love that man. The one you saw just now. Well, that's it. I love Vershinin. What can I do? At first I thought he was strange, and then I started feeling sorry for him, and then I fell in love with him. In love with his voice, with the things he says, with all of his problems. With his 2 little girls. Oh, Olga, you're the silly one. I'm in love. It's fate, I guess. I mean, it's just my luck. And he loves me. It's all so funny, don't you think? Doesn't it strike you funny? Oh, my darling. We'll get through life somehow, no matter what happens to us. When you read about these things in books, it all seems terribly silly and predictable. But when you fall in love yourself, you realize nobody knows anything about it. Everyone has to figure it out for herself. My dear sisters, there, I've told you. Now I will never say another word about it. The rest is silence. Alright, well, I don't know what that was like. All I know is I'm gonna watch it back later. And welcome to my video diary. And I just felt the desire to do that monologue. And I know that my accent was fluctuating. I don't, between SCGA and whatever this is, and maybe there's a slight Singlish intonation at some points, but whatever lah, you know, YOLO brah. Welcome to my video diary. Tonight I'm on my bedside. I do not, well, I partly know why. I guess I know a little bit of the reason why I decided to... I've been obsessed with Masha's monologue from The Three Sisters by Anton Chekhov, and yeah, I mean, let's talk about it. Not just, you know, the monologue, but this is a video diary, so, you know, Diana will talk about life and what acting teaches us about life, I suppose. I don't know, and where I'm at right now in my journey as an actor, because I mean, that's what I've decided to dedicate the channels which have my name on them. And I think before we go forward, I just need to start with and get this off my chest. I'm currently struggling with insecurities around my appearance. And yes, I know, you're watching this being like, yeah, but Diana, you're literally in your pajamas doing a monologue and then, well, sharing it with other human beings, hopefully, not just the AI bots crawling the internet right now, but hopefully other human beings on the internet. And yeah, well, being an actor right now, I've been challenging myself to just show up, especially because the industry itself is changing so rapidly, and technology is changing. The way humans interact with each other is still changing, and yet, even with all these changes, stories and this human connection that we have through stories and the way that stories are shared and told, that aspect of our humanity is not going away as long as we're still here. And so actually, it makes me an even stronger believer in the power of theater, like live theater, and in the value of in-person human connection and experiences, and how all these different forms of content online are just various ways of building upon what we have in real life, for me, okay, as an actor. And yeah, so I'm currently struggling with my inner perfectionist, and yeah, especially with my appearance. And I'm doing a self-care sort of ritual at the moment with my hair, which honestly I'm starting to worry. I'm getting very frustrated because I haven't been able to find a Chinese or a good Asian hairdresser that I can afford reasonably in LA, that honestly would give me the same quality of a haircut that I get back home in Singapore. And I haven't been home to Singapore since last December to January this year, 2025, and it is currently October 30th, almost the 31st of October. Happy Halloween. Yes, almost the 31st of October 2025. So I have not cut my hair in 10 months, and I don't know why, for some reason today I'm literally like, I'm like, is my hair thinning? Am I losing hair? Because or is it just too heavy for my head right now? I don't know. Because right, maybe it's because today I braided my hair. I'm doing Wednesday Addams, has a coming of age and is sort of finding her own version of femininity as my costume for Halloween. Yes, it's a whole mood, it's a theme, okay? And so I braided my hair right today as Wednesday Addams, and I never ever do this braid. And then I was like, is it really that thin? But then I realized when I look at the cartoon, right, her braids are they are very thin. But then I was like, oh my god, is this normal? Or did I lose hair or something? You know what I mean? Anyway. But then because I usually only braid it on like one whole clump. Anyway, long story short, this is not the only thing I'm currently self-conscious about, okay? Yeah, I'm very self-conscious right now because she's 31, you know, and she's no longer in her 20s, and I'm not sure if my metabolism is getting slower or not. Fingers crossed. Even though, okay, as a woman, I always felt, I don't know whether it was that 13 going on 30 movie that I watched growing up that was like influencing me, you know, to believe that my 30s would be my peak, would be the start of my peak. And then, you know, I felt like 30s going into 40s, maybe to my up to my 60s, my 30s to my 60s would probably be the peak of my beauty, my appearance. That's kind of like the vibe I always got in my gut, you know what I mean? And so yeah, like I'm having like, it's wild because after doing, so I've been doing Alexander technique lie downs consistently for at least a year, going maybe a year to 2 years at this point. Daily, almost every single day, except for like when I'm in too much pain on the menstrual cycle. So basically almost every single day I've been doing lie downs for at least 1 year, and I've been doing lie downs for at least through 2 times a week to 3 times a week for 2 years now. And so yes, so I need to tell you basically that as an actor, from the inside out, the tension in my body, like I've never felt this free in my muscular skeletal connection ever. Okay, I mean ever since maybe like I was a little baby or something, because all my memories from like 12 to 15-year-old self, I remember being 16 and going to my dad's chiropractor or something, and he was like, at the time, that was a long time ago, and the chiropractor was like, you know, doing some adjustments, and he said to me that I had the muscular, like my body was so stiff that it was like I was 20 already, and I was a teenager at this point, okay? Yeah, it was, I don't know, it was weird, it was wild, it was very strange, okay? Anyway, because yeah, anyway, yeah, so all that to say that here I am, almost 2 times that age, and my body feels more free from tension and stiffness, which is wild. And I carried all of that since such a young age, and I've been like hyper aware of the pain in my body from that age, like maybe in my from my heart I feel like 14, all of it. I mean, yeah, ever since the girl started getting her period, I think, is when she started having these sorts of tensions. Okay, so circling back to my current issues with insecurities around my physical appearance, I needed to preface that because on the inside I'm feeling so amazing, and now I'm struggling with looking in the mirror and being like, is this fat, or is this bloating, or is my metabolism slowing, and why am I not able to do these, like, why am I not able to do certain movements in contortion and dance ever? And anyway, so yeah, it's a weird, like, And then today I get this whole insecurity about like, is her hair thinning, or is this just because I never braided my hair in this style and I never realized. And now that I have it all on one side again, I'm like, actually, Diana, maybe, I don't know lah, maybe you are a bit stressed, okay? Yeah. So, you know, literally I was going through all this, like, should I take a hair supplement? Should I start doing targeted exercises? And for the last 2 weeks, I've been struggling. I've been sort of criticizing parts of my body that I wish I could change, and I just don't have, I don't know, and I've never been able to change. Yeah. And now, with what I said in my preface, of feeling more connected to my body and being more free. Should I put a little bit more oil? Yeah, I want to put more oil. And I've come to this point in my work as an actor with the Alexander technique as a tool in my toolbox. I've come to a point where I can actually feel connections to the minuscule muscles in my body, and in movement especially, and dance, because I never really took dance as like I don't know, I always approach dance as an actor. So for me, it's always about the story, the energy, and the flow, right? And I mean, yeah, those things anyway. And today we were having a movement session, and I just felt like I could feel the energy flowing through even the tiniest muscles in my body. And to have that level of control, that level of awareness and precision in my body. Yeah, sorry, my accent is like really jumping across the globe right now to my lived experiences in the UK and London, and my early life in Singapore. And so I don't know what's gonna come out. And also, yeah, like now at this point, I guess I do have 2 years of lived experience in the US under my belt. So, and when I first came here, I was Americanizing my accent a lot. Anyway, so you're gonna get all three probably in some mix in this video, because I'm just c'est la vie, right? I'm just showing up. Anyway, where was I? And yes, and that level of precision in my muscular skeletal connection and feeling the flow of energy through my body as I was just free moving during movement class today. It was freeing, it was fascinating, and I have to like really thank, well, she would tell me to thank myself, so I'm gonna thank myself for choosing her and choosing and because I, you know, that nervous system relaxation in that safe space and environment to explore dance and movement without the external judgment. So I have no idea what I look like from the outside, and that's not even the important point right now at this point in the work, because being present and connected in the moment is allowing that life force energy to channel through my essence and my body and outward. You know, you can't be what is that? Can't be having a bird's eye view and spectating on your performance, because then you're not performing, you know, you're not doing. And even the word performance then just becomes more of an artifice instead of an active gift that you present outwards and send into the world. Because then that's why people use the word performance as a pseudonym, or even the word acting as a pseudonym for, yeah, the word presentational, like that sort of more artificial, shallow idea of the thing instead of the real, grounded, connected, and active sending of energy through the vessel of the work, of the art, you know? If you know, you know. Well, I'm sure it will come to you anyway. So, okay, well, I put the oil on the ends, but does she want a little bit up here? I don't know if she wants oil on the top here. I normally do not, but my scalp has been a little bit dry lately, so I don't know. Low-key freaking out about how about my looks right now. I've lost my looks. Now I'm thinking of Irina's monologue. She was 24. She's 24 in the play, but I guess in Chekhov's time, people were not necessarily living that as long as we are now. So that was probably like 24 is probably like older parallel in this year in 2025. And let's see. Yeah, so because, okay, right now, my life motto is one of the lines that Chekhov gives Masha, which is, when you read about these things in books, it all seems terribly silly and predictable. But when you fall in love yourself, you realize nobody knows anything about it. Everyone has to figure it out for herself. Because it's not, well, I think, yeah, I mean, it is about falling in love. And it's about how Masha, she thought she was in love with Kuligin. But she was kind of in love with the idea of him. And then she got to know him and she was like, why? She was like, I'm bored. I'm bored. She says it to him, to his face, in the same act. I think a few pages before she delivers this monologue to her sisters. And she confesses to them that she's in love with Vashinin, who is, what, almost twice her age? I don't know. Yeah, he's like in his 40s. And that's wild to me. That the double standard between men and women, because you would, I don't know. Maybe in this day and age in 2025, a woman can date a man 20 years younger than her and not be met with the same, I don't know. Well, yeah, by more people she would be, more people will be like, why do you care who's that I ride? You know, to quote Ariana Grande, why do you care? More people will be like, I don't give a F. Let her live. We don't know her well enough to be like, no, this 20-something-year-old cannot date this 40-something-year-old woman. Anyway. And beyond that, for me, it's very fascinating. I mean, yeah, like, for me personally, as Diana, I'm like, Masha, girl, my friend, if you think this is the love of your life, you really need to just meet more men. But I see where you are coming from, and I have deep empathy for where you are at. And I know why you love this man. Also in Chinese, there's a saying, right, that like, feeling sorry for a man is the beginning of your downfall, because it means that you will start to feel like you want to nurture this broken bird or whatever, right? Anyway, okay. I don't know, is her hair thinning or not? I don't know lah. I'm damn scared, okay? So, the reason why that line that she says, yeah, because when you fall in love with yourself, you realize nobody knows anything about it. Like, everyone has to figure it out for herself. And I'm at this point right now where I'm like, you know, I've shared this line, I think, spontaneously in one of my other videos. But I'm at this point right now in my life where I'm like, wow, I've passed my Saturn return and I'm so much more connected to myself, firstly. And now, yeah, and I feel so much freer in my body. I feel like my life force energy is flowing naturally, and I feel like I'm literally at the beginning of the peak eras of my life, probably. You know, you could argue, I don't know, you could argue that the 20-year-old her and the like, how old was she, bruh? 15-year-old girl who was being hit on by like NS boys and uni boys, okay? So like 18, 19, 20-year-old boys, 21-year-old. Yeah, that age gap at that age. The 15-year-old girl who was sneaking into R21 movies, blatantly not being asked for my ID. I do not know how I passed off. Okay. Yeah, and she actually bought. Okay lah. No, I'm not gonna say. That's enough. I don't know. I don't know how I passed. They just looked at me. Maybe it's because I was tall. You know what I mean? Being like 175 centimeters. I think being 175 centimeters in Singapore is super tall, because you got all the southern Chinese genes in the males, and my mom says it's because of my grandmother's Beijing heritage. I don't know. Anyway. So I'm in the state where, yeah, spiritually I feel like I have a blank slate, because I've released a lot of these things that were not me. Ideas that were imposed onto me and I accepted. you know, in a very filial Asian Chinese way. I kind of want to pin this up right now because it's kind of wet and I don't want to be absorbing it into my body. So I'm just going to clip it. And it's 2025 right now, okay? So the way that we tell stories is changing, okay? I mean, with the rise of all these vertical dramas, with AI generated content becoming such sophisticated animations that are realistic looking, so realistic looking, like they are literally computer generated graphics. So in my mind as an actor, I categorize that as anime that just looks like humans. Anyway, with all of that, so it is a yes and, because people still watch anime. I watch anime and I watch live theater. Yeah. So in this day and age, with all of these changes going on, I'm in this state where, and with my perspective and my point of view, as I just shared, right, as an actor, I'm in this point of view is like, yeah, like everyone can write all these self-help books. They can publish a course, they can write books about what they've done, you know, and it's useful to and helpful and interesting to read. Like, I'm reading Patrick Stewart's memoir. It's not a biography, it's a memoir, and it is inspiring for me and expanding for me. But everyone has to figure it out for herself, because it's not just like falling in love, it's living life. It is acting in character. And the more you delve into the life of an actor, the more you realize that every single human being will give a different iteration to a story. If you want to include AI in that, every single coding prompt which inspires an algorithm to generate a version of output is going to be different. You're not going to get the exact same output with different input in whatever model you're using. Even more so with human beings, right? And I think that's why I always approach dance as an actor, because for me it was about telling the story. It was connecting with the audience. It was being live in person and feeling through a journey together. Even online or even through the camera in this very moment. Even if I watch it back, I'm going to get a very different experience from what you're watching, and depending on where you're watching from and how you're feeling that day. And the very big difference between live theater and vertical drama in terms of the audience experiences, that in live theater it's more than just, it's community. It's, you're in a group of people together. And you see this in the cinema as well, in theaters, but that is a whole other beast as well. And I'm talking about the difference between the two sides of this extreme right now, right? Where I can, on my phone, literally take a story. I'm not even gonna call it a piece of content. I'm gonna call it a story, okay? Because I can take the story and I can watch it while I'm hiking or I can watch it, I was gonna say on the tube. Here in LA, it would be on the bus, right? Or in a car, well, in the back seat of a car, right? I can be watching it. Some people are watching it on the toilet, okay? Right? Or I could be lying in bed, or I could be cooking a meal, and that story is coming to wherever I'm at, versus me joining a group of fellow human beings and sharing an experience for 2 hours on one night that the people who, the same company can stage the same production, but the people who come the night before are going to be entirely different. The cost is going to be like feeling or having gone through very different things the day before. Like they're not going to have the same coffee that they had the day before, and even if it's the same brand, it's not going to be the same if the weather's different, right? Or if they eat something different, it's gonna taste entirely different if they had and their taste bud, you know what I mean? So it's that detailed difference that then whatever people that receive the performance that they give that night are going to have an entirely different experience from the people the day after, the day before, even 3 hours earlier in a matinee. That's the difference. The difference is with live theatre, people come and they experience something in community, a shared story, a shared journey in community, in person, physically. And there's value in all of it, right? There's value in me being able to tell a story and letting the person who is coming home from work after a long day, having a shower and playing a vertical drama in the background, or cooking a meal and for their family and having that vertical drama help them pass the time while they're waiting for something to finish stewing. You know what I mean? Like, to keep them company and keep them engaged and allow and find ways to process their emotions or connect with a journey remotely and in person. And as human beings, we all go through all these different moods and stages and detours, journeys in life. So the possibilities are endless. And now as an actor, I get to decide which ones of these resonate with me. Because I think I'm finally coming out of this era that I had. I guess I had my feral black cat era where she was just not interested and could not really show up for anyone else but herself. Or, you know, if there was a card in the tarot which would represent that in the major arcana, it would be the Hermit. Coming out of my hermit phase. Hermit phase. and I'm allowing whatever is in me to like be shared with other human beings in real life through this internet. In my dreams. I don't know why I felt like saying that. Anyway. And right now, I think I'm starting to allow myself to want the things that I want. You know, well, let's talk about it. For a long time in my life, I remember seeing a photo of myself when I was 15 or 16. I was in Sec 4 or Sec 3, and I saw my tummy. It was bloated, and the fat is there under the belly button. And she's 15 or 16, okay? And I've done Pilates, I've done contortion. I was a professional pole artist, dancing and teaching and performing and competing on big theater stages in the UK, in America. I even came to Vegas and performed at the Pole Expo once and competed there. And I did all of that. I had very strong abs, and yet I know it's because of the tension that was stored in my body, that I wasn't breathing properly or something. I was never able to like engage the muscles that would help me to move that fat that was stuck there. And what's interesting is now that I've done Alexander technique for like 2 years, I'm actually starting to engage the muscles in that area. It's wild. It's crazy to me. You know, I felt like I was going insane because of how new it was to me. Yeah, how new that feeling was to be able to engage those muscles in that place and like have the spine not correct. See, the word correct is not correct, okay? It's not correct itself, but align itself. Yeah, aligning itself. It was just out of like trusting the body to be able to know how to do that without a manipulation or a force externally that was pushing it into that area. It gives me hope, okay? Yeah. And it's insane how women are repeatedly told that their 20s are like 21, you know, the idolization of that age as the peak for women or something. And whereas men are supposedly aging like what, wine? Why can't I age like wine, huh? Sir? Don't place a standard on me that you do not want me to place on you, okay? You know what? Yeah, because my toxic trait is that I'm gonna want to, there's a part of me that wants to put the same standard on you also, right? Like maybe, you know, because 19-year-old me, little old me, was, I mean, naively accepting dates from 29-year-old men who then like told me that they couldn't give me what I deserve, and I was like, okay. And that they weren't able to commit. I'm like, okay. Because right, then yeah, like this girl now is like, maybe I should also date someone who's 10 years younger than me or something. You know what I mean? Just to see how y'all men feel. But at the same time, we know that women will never do the same thing. Yeah, I will never treat a man that way because I'm already so invested in the human being in front of me. You know? Because also I'm not a man with testosterone. And I don't have the same conditioning. Nor do I have that same desire. Or I'm not even that person. But you know, I mean, anyway. Not to make sweeping generalizations in a world where people are increasingly non-binary and gender fluid. I'm only talking right now specifically about people who identify as those. Cisgender types, I suppose. Because these are the things that need to change in order for us to be more accepting and open-hearted. And inclusive of humans in general. Right? Anyway. Well, okay lah, see lah. I mean, yeah. I realized that I'm someone who is actually very traditional in culture. And yet, I don't impose those. I don't restrict others who have different thing, like, you know, be as long as they're decent human beings, right? They have the ability to self-reflect and have kind intentions. Like, why do I care? You know what I mean? Why do I care what other people are preferring? You know what I mean? And I've come to acknowledge that just because that, like, I need to be that kind of person who acknowledges that, yeah, like, maybe I am a monogamist and heteroromantic person who believes in the value of marriage as more than just like a love thing. It's like a legacy and a wealth thing. Okay, maybe, you know, and I attribute that to my Chinese cultural roots, where marriage is about legacy building. Okay. And generational wealth. For real. If you go, you know, like, literally every dynasty era drama that has some romantic elements will be very honest about it. And I've come to acknowledge that if I'm that kind of person, I have to accept my own values and my own desires and my own standards for myself, even if I'm not going to impose those things on the people next to me. You know what I mean? Like, what I would wish for them is to know themselves well enough to know what they want, what their boundaries are, and what their expectations are, what their hopes are, and go for it. So I should do that for myself too. And I should be setting sort of the precedents for the next generation, for more people who are like me to have that open heart. Yes. So I guess this is my journals for today. Acting on life. The reason why I call this playlist Acting on Life, right, is because I wanted to have this double entendre, right? So it's kind of what acting has taught me about living, and it is about taking action on your life. And my hope and intention is that by sharing these sorts of video journals with you, it just is a at least, human reminder that you're not alone, and we are here living life together. No, yes, it's not bye yet, it's yeah, and that's my intent lah. Okay. Literally, it's so simple. Because right, I thought about it. I was like, I cannot run away from social media as an actor, as a person who's going to be telling stories on stage, right? What value do I want to bring on my social media profiles that will add to my, not my portfolio, well, yeah, kind of my portfolio, but more than just my portfolio, add to my collection and my projects that will make me a well-rounded human being who is primarily an actor. And so I thought about it, I was like, okay lah, I'm just gonna show up as an actor online and talk about acting, growing, and the journey of being an actor. And this particular playlist is about what acting has taught me about living law, and I hope it helps. That's all. Kind of like that. I think that, well, no, my gut is telling me there's one more thing I want to talk about today in this video journal. Yes, the reason why I filmed this like this and I just posted is because I'm in this process right now of being in the moment and staying in the moment. And also, personally, I'm very burnt out from doing all the things and my startup work history, I suppose. So, as I release more and more of those tensions that were held in my body, I suppose eventually I'll get to a point where I have more variety and I actually package the work that I do in a more structured and planned way. Right now, the content that's resonating with me on YouTube, on TikTok, on social media is stuff that is very like genuinely, actually spur of the moment, actually being in the moment, and actually behind the scenes sort of vibe. Like, this is beyond behind the scenes. This is like, what do actors actually think about and talk about and do and share, And I can't speak for all actors. I can only speak for this one right here. But I can tell you for sure, like, everyone in my circle who is an actor has definitely had at least one script that made them think like, yo, this is too close to home. I'm thinking about all these things in my life right now, and I'm pretty sure they do that with every single script. But at the same time, it's like, that's not what we use when we are building the character. But we actually have to come to terms with these things to be present in that character's life. So, for example, in the monologue I shared at the start, I felt, without having watched it yet, I felt that this run through for me was a lot more impulse to impulse. And I'm moving from the moment to moment sort of cadence into the impulse to impulse. I can't find the word for what I'm trying to say. Acting on the first impulse and allowing that to be like the domino effect that just pulls all the work out of me. Yes, but in that monologue, like, I think the last video that I uploaded on this channel, the moment before with Masha, like, all that work, like, I've already built the moment before. I've already built what I feel, and I mean, that can change, but I already built at least one time what I feel Masha's lead up to this moment is. Excuse me. I've also worked on this monologue on stage, in person, in front of a camera once at least, which is a vastly different experience from doing it in front of my phone like this. And I've done it with props, I've done it with other human beings as scene partners. I've done even one exercise I did. I won't say too much about it, but in this exercise we had our fellow ensemble members standing in for physical props. I did that with my Chekhov teacher, Pete, in New York. I'm just gonna give credit where credit's due. I'm sure he learned it from someone else, but you know, very Adler technique. Yes. So, and there are so many different versions of me doing this monologue on my TikTok as well. So yeah, I'm obsessed with this monologue right now. Here's the other funny, oh my god, okay, yes. This is the last sort of real thing I want to talk about today on this video journal. So, oh my god. So I was preparing to go for this Chekhov intensive in the summer in New York at the Stella Adler studio there. And I was like, well, we were meant to bring a monologue. And I was like, I don't know what monologue to bring because I hadn't read any of Chekhov's plays in full. I'd read scenes from it. I knew the plots of the Seagull, Three Sisters, and Three Sisters before the intensive, but I'd never done anything on Chekhov before, and I'd only watched one play of his ever in real life before this intensive. But his work was like the only, he was like, yeah, it was like I'd never done anything like it before, and I needed to do it. I was like, this is the only thing I'm missing right now at that point in time. So what I did was I asked our dear friend ChatGPT to recommend me a monologue based on, fine, I'm gonna just say it, based on my human design profile as well as my Barter chart, and I have this custom setup with ChatGPT about my energetic profiles. And you have to take everything it says with a pinch of salt, because all it's doing is it's summarizing a lot of anything it can find online that is connected with this information and presenting it to you, right? And making some sort of recommendation. And so ChatGPT recommended me this monologue, but it also called this monologue Irina's monologue. And so, but it gave me these words, like not the exact same words, but the starting line, because the version of this monologue that I'm doing is the one that's translated by Paul Schmidt, and which is a different one. So yeah, I had to correct ChatGPT on the information, because it gave me like 3 or 4 options from like the different Chekhov plays. I was like, based on my energetic profiles, which ones which of Chekhov's, like, recommend me a monologue from Chekhov's plays. It gave me like 3 or 4 different options, and I liked the sound of this one based on what it was describing. And then I corrected ChatGPT. I was like, it's not Irina, it's Masha, right? And then and then I fell in love with this one. But the funny thing is I go to the intensive and I get assigned a scene with Irina, and I'm like, okay, interesting, because I read the play. So after I picked this monologue, I was so excited. I loved it. I read it in the book. I read the entire play, and honest to God, I went into the intensive being like, I don't understand Irina at all, and I don't know how I could access her. But Masha I get, Olga I get. And then I got assigned the scene, and that's, oh my God, it leads back into the line. Everyone has to figure it out for herself. And then I found the love. I fell in love with Irina for myself. Yeah. I've talked about Irina on another one of the videos on this channel, but there you go. An actress mindfully using an artificial intelligence tool to help me summarize and filter and find a recommendation and make an informed decision on data. Because there's so much, like at that point in time, I think I signed up for the, I don't know, I signed up for this intensive like a few weeks before it started, and it felt very last minute. So I didn't have time to sit down and read like 6 different plays or something. And so I had to start somewhere. And I mean, at this point, I've read 4 of his plays in full, and fallen in love with each of them ish. Yeah, parts of each of them, at least. 2 of them I love. The other 2 I'm still finding the love for. But I guess that is an example of how I see it, artificial intelligence, as a tool, as a friend, as an ally, I suppose, and how I interact with it and still have space to exist. All right. Good night.